Hi everyone. This week in our course, we are starting to think about map layout and map design. So your textbook is going to go through a lot of elements of cartography and a lot of elements related to how to lay out your map. One of the things that I hope you learn during our course and our time together is how to tell a good map from a bad map. So I hope in this chapter and in this module, you spend a little bit of time going over the good and bad elements of map design. We obviously want our map to tell a story or to communicate something to our readers. The choices you make and how you lay out your data, the colors you put on your map, they're all going to influence how well people can read and interpret your map. Maybe in the past you've come across a map, maybe probably not for national park, but maybe you've come across a map that does not have good map design, that you're looking at it and you're like, well, what is this showing me? I can't understand it. I have no idea where anything is. I have no idea how far apart anything is, or what's the purpose of this map. That's what this chapter is teaching you how to avoid those things. Maybe you've also seen some really good maps. I love to look at some of the interactive maps on the New York Times, or even just looking at the website City Lab. They have a whole mapping section that's really interesting. And there's some really, really powerful cartographic representations that are interactive and well put together. So always a good place to start there. When I'm thinking about map design, I always ask myself first, who is my audience? Is it just an average person, or is it a more specialized audience that maybe has more details on a topic than just your average person? So you can cater the map to them. And then I also look at my symbology and text on the map and say, is this easy to understand? And often I find myself asking other people if it's easy to understand. Maybe when you've had to edit a paper for an English class or any other class that requires a lot of writing, you find it a lot easier to edit a friend's paper or a classmate's paper than to edit your own. Same thing with maps. It's always good to get another set of eyes on it to see if your map is really communicating or telling the story you want it to tell. There are a couple topics in this chapter that get a little bit more complicated. So there's a section on scale, and there'll be a video in this module that has to do specifically with scale. And I also put together a video on symbology, data classification, and normalization. So take some time to go through those, especially if you are unclear or unsure of why classification matters, or why you might want to normalize your data. Last up, one of the earlier sections in this chapter will talk to you about cartographic elements and what should and should not go on your map. So take some time to look at those, and then look at the checklist at the end of the lab this week. And that's a great checklist to follow for your final project, or just putting a map together in general. It's on page 294 in the textbook, or at the end of the hands-on 294, or I should say 276. That's one you should be looking at. So take some time. The hands-on activity this week, the geospatial lab application, will have you working in QGIS, your last in-depth QGIS lab. We're going to change symbology, change classifications, and adding in a lot of those elements onto the print composer. I hope you enjoy this week.